Hello, everyone. You are listening to She Leads with Carly. I'm your host, Carly Molatsky, and my guest today is Dana Gann. Dana is now a senior product manager at PayPal. And for those who don't know, PayPal is an American multinational financial tech company operating an online payment system. Dana actually started off her career in product design before starting her own company called Live in Media, an internet-based social sharing platform where she was also the VP of product. After her own venture, she went back into working in another tech company as a product manager at Fiverr for 4 years. She then actually went on a travel sabbatical as well, which we'll get into, before she joined PayPal, where she is today. But first, Dana, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining She Leads. How are you today?
I'm great, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So first, set the scene. Where are you in the world? Are you working from home? What's the work situation going like?
So I'm in the Bay Area. I'm in California, working from home. So we started like coming into the office here and there and kind of like flexible, but majority of the time at home. And I'm actually really enjoying it. Like I kind of started off dreading like the idea of, onboarding to a new company remote, but it's been great.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get into that. But first, I want you to take me all the way back to starting in product design. So did you always know you wanted to go into product design? How did this happen? And did you kind of see your future, staying in product design, or how are you looking at your future career?
Yeah. So I always liked, creating things and crafting and stuff like that. But I really got introduced to this whole world of product design through actually my Army service. So I'm originally from Israel, and there everyone needs to do their Army service. And I was fortunate to work in a unit that was working with the technology unit of the IDF. And I saw and was working with them on developing products. And I was like, wait, this is really cool. Like this gets me going and it's exciting. And I went and learned about this field called industrial design. And I was taken and was like, this is exactly where I need to be. And I'm very happy with that decision.
Yeah. So take me then in your first role. Your first role out of the Army was also in product design. And at this point, how are you thinking of, your next career move? Because I know out of the Army, a lot of Israelis, it's pretty common to go travel or, really like discover yourself and what's next. So how was it for you? What was that process like?
So for me, like right after the Army, I did like a short trip and stuff, but I was so excited about this. Like I wanted to jump into school and after school, I applied for a job being a product designer because I'm like, this is what I want to be. This is what I know. But as I started working in the studio, I saw that I'm gravitating towards sitting with the clients. And this was like a studio that they really designed everything from like concept to production line for like small startups or big companies. And I just found myself like so drawn to sitting with the client, getting their brief, thinking, research. Like I was like, I think that that's where I need to be. And I kind of shifted into more of a project manager / product manager of that company. And then what kind of evolved from that was a lot of products were IoT, right? So suddenly, and it's a small startup and you're like, you need to get everything done. And I find myself starting to mock up wireframes and learning about this. And I'm like, wait, this really resembles what I studied in school and I loved, but this is high paced and this is like 2-dimension. But one of the problems that I had with industrial design is like, you think about a concept, but only 2 years after will you see that, live in a customer's hand and reading about user experience. I'm like, this is different, but I love that. So yeah, I went and I studied that, and that was like really a complementary to what I studied in my degree.
Yeah. And I'm sure you saw the difference in a startup where, building fast, users are using it, a week later, things like that. So it's completely different.
Yeah.
So at this point, do you ever see yourself, starting your own company and, taking the reins yourself? And how did that come to be? How did Live in Media come to be?
Yeah, so it wasn't at all. It was a friendly conversation with a friend of mine that he came in, asked me questions to get feedback on this idea that he had. And one thing led to another. And I find myself like occupied by this product and really interested in it. And only a few months after, I was like, okay, this is too much. Like, I can't work and do this. And we decided to go for it. And it was a really great adventure because, you know, as a startup, you wear multiple hats. So I had that user experience background, and then trying to mock things up and getting that out the door, starting to learn a little bit of front end, working with developers. How do you make a deck? How do you talk to investors? And I think that was really interesting because, again, like, I never saw myself in tech because I studied industrial design. Like, I was supposed to design this amazing chair or, you know, things like that. But suddenly getting drawn to that and talking to investors, and they were asking all these really interesting questions. And I went back and, you know, learning based on their questions, how they view things and how a product cycle is supposed to be, you know, executed. What is a roadmap? Like, all these really fundamental questions of, I didn't even really understand what that role is. So I really needed to go and research it. So that was a great jumping into this world.
Yeah. So, okay. So you just mentioned even, you know, like learning what a roadmap is, learning all these new aspects of a company, but also a product and the iteration aspect. How did you learn it? Was it more just, you know, it came up from the investors, or were you also talking to users at this point? Like, what were some tangible things that were allowing you to gain these skills?
A lot of research. Like, okay. The internet is filled with so much, like this podcast, like so many amazing resources to hear about product management from different angles. So that was part of it, reaching out to, you know, real people and asking them and sitting, well, even with investors, just like saying, fine, like it didn't work out, but let's talk. Let's like learn what happened. And people were so open. And that was just such an amazing experience of really wanting to help you. And the thing that I learned is you just have to ask. Like, people would love to give you their knowledge and just need to ask for it. Yeah, no, I think it's so overlooked, right? Just asking, because worst case, you don't get a reply, or they say they're too busy, or, you know, but that's also okay. Like, you move on to the next one. Yeah. So I think it's such a valuable lesson, and one that I very much use with this podcast. So I love that. Was there ever a moment, I mean, was it pretty clear that you were going to go in this, you know, VP of product role, or were you maybe going in operations, or, you know, there's a lot of roles that startups have. And as you said, there's many hats, but it seemed like you then became, you know, the VP of product. Was that a seamless transition? Was it an obvious transition? It was just what I did. And then we gave it a name. So it made sense. Okay, nice. And so walk me now through, you know, finding Fiverr and like kind of transitioning from Live in Media, you know, putting that behind you and going back into tech. How was that process, and what were some things that you were thinking about? So after, you know, a while that we were working on it, and it like what happens to most startups. Like most startups, I was trying, exactly. I learned a lot, but then I was like, okay, so how do I apply this into the real world of, you know, applying for a job? And one of the things that was really important for me is I need to connect to what the company does in order to make myself, you know, excited in the morning and as creative and productive as I can be. I really need to connect to that company's why. And that's kind of how I came about Fiverr, because I was so excited about their idea of changing the way people are working and how they create opportunities for people both looking, you know, for someone to help them with maybe their startup or a project they have. But on the other hand, a lot of people creating that freedom that they can work in flexible hours and on their own pace. So that really was amazing to me. And I applied to the company. And back then we were like 100 employees. We were about 6 or 7 product managers, and we were all under the CEO. So that was an amazing experience to learn from Micha, because he's great at product, and a great person. So learning from him and seeing how the company is growing and pivoting. And, you know, I left when we were about 400 people. So it was really seeing how that company grew. And you always go back to like that mission and and how do you help people? How does this product really change people's lives at the end of the day?
Yeah. Okay, I can go in a couple different directions, but I want to focus on this aspect of the why. And I think it probably applies to even you at PayPal today, but were you like an active user of Fiverr? Were you a part of this gig economy that Fiverr was, a big player in, or was it really just, this is their mission and I'm connected to their mission? And like, do you have to be a user to join a company essentially?
I don't think so. But you do need to understand the users, and you need to talk to them, and you need to understand who they are and how this platform can help them. But it was kind of, I saw a talk by Simon Sinek a few years ago, and that before I even joined Fiverr, and that really kind of clicked everything. I'm like, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I'm like, yes, like Fiverr is about, creating that difference in people's world, and I want to be part of that. So really talking to users and understanding and seeing people around me that this platform can be a great tool for them, especially coming from a world where I know a lot of musicians and creatives, and you can't have that your whole work all the time. So having a side gig is something amazing, and this platform really enables that. So it was exciting to join.
Yeah. So walk me through the process of getting into Fiverr. And because what it seems like, it's the first, opportunity you had where it's your first PM role at another tech company. So you were first in product design, then you started your own company. How was that experience? How did you leverage your experience to then, use that to be, I can be a great product manager for you guys?
There were a lot of things that I didn't know, obviously. Okay. Yeah. I've never worked at a really big company. I've never worked with analysts. I never created like this really big roadmap, but I kind of feel that when you get an opportunity, you get it for a reason. And I was like, okay, there's a lot of things I don't know, and I understand that. But there's a lot of things that I do have, and I have this creativity, and I have this drive of learning, and I have this user empathy, because that's what I studied, and that's the angle that I'm coming from. And I was, like we said before, asking a lot of questions, reading a lot, and really leaning into the people around me. And either it's my manager or the peers around me, asking questions, learning what they're doing, and adjusting it to myself. So it was a lot of trial and error. But the vote of confidence that I got from leadership was the one that I was like, if they believe in me, I really believe I can do this. And I was so fortunate. I got to be in charge of the onboarding process and the homepage and the buyer product pages, and everything's like from the buyer experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I'm here, then probably I'll be able to do this. I just need to ask the right questions and get the right support for this.
Yeah. So before we get into the homepage, because I know you also worked on that or working on it in PayPal, do you have advice for the interview process? Because I know you transitioned from product design, or from, being your own entrepreneur. And I mention this a lot, and I ask this a lot on this podcast, in that right now it's very much this, discrepancy of, right out of college, this associate product management program, this is for you, new grads, versus, we need 7+ years of experience, senior PM, this is for you. So it's almost like, where do, the ones that maybe a year out of college, or, 2 years of experience, how do they break into it? Do you have some advice given your experience, given that, you kind of jumped in the middle?
Yeah, I think that you need to talk to people within that company and really understand what are the qualifications they're looking for. And sometimes there's like a job description because it's just easier to write that down. But actually, maybe you have only 3 years of experience, but you're nailing all the checklists that they need, and you can apply. And I think that, in that tech industry, sometimes when you look at a resume, then it's easy to overlook. So asking for people from inside to bubble up your resume to the relevant people and speak on your behalf, I think that works very well.
Yeah.
It's your network is your net worth, right? That's that saying.
I love that. I think also it's such a good point, because even, and there's studies that have been done male to females, right? Like females, when they see a list of qualifications, right, they're like, oh, I don't have one out of the 7.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I can't do it. Whereas males, they have, they have 2 and they're like, oh, this is perfect for me. But I think you take it a step further and it's like beyond even just like the written, job description. Why don't you find people in the company, talk to them and see whether, it could be a great fit. So I really like that. So tell me about the homepage. Tell me about this product that you had to do. And, because in my mind, the homepage, it's the first thing that a user sees, right? So it's very important. It has to catch the user's eye. And specifically Fiverr, we'll get to PayPal as well, but Fiverr has a lot going on, right? There's so many different aspects. There's a lot of different, different freelancers, different needs. So how did you kind of take it all in and hone it into a real feature to work on?
So there were a few homepages, and when I was working at Fiverr, so there's 2. There's the logged out homepage, which is more of a marketing page explaining what Fiverr is, and then there's a logged in homepage. So we can talk about the logged out because that I think was really interesting because the company pivoted a few times and kind of changed their narrative of instead of being just like $5, it can be a lot bigger than that. And that was a really cool experience because we wanted to go out with a bang. We didn't have time for user research too much, and A/B testing was not in the question. And we were like, there's this new branding and this new messaging that we want, and we want to create this new homepage. And I reimagined how the homepage looks like, but then I was kind of stuck. I'm like, I can't do any user research. I can't A/B test this. So what we did do is we took a stack of pizzas. We went to the local WeWork because that was our user group. It's entrepreneurs, they're scrappy, they're trying to get things done, and Fiverr would be the perfect platform for them. And we showed them this new homepage and the amount of knowledge that we got and feedback. And we were like changing things on the fly and showing this again and getting feedback. And at the end of the day, we had this homepage that we felt really comfortable with that, we'll continue A/B testing, we'll continue optimizing, but that first splash was something that we felt that people can understand. And that was really a really fun and an interesting experience to really go out and ask people, even people who knew Fiverr before or people who didn't know Fiverr, how do they perceive that product now?
Yeah. So why couldn't you A/B test from the beginning, I think is what you said.
Yeah, because it was a strategic decision of branding, of like going out with this new story. No turning back. Like the whole site was something completely new. So
yeah, I think also this story it shows the perfect blend of taking the business strategy, right, like the new narrative that Fiverr has, but also we need our users, like we need our users' voice and what they're thinking, and you went to them like face on what's going through your mind when you see this. So I think that's perfect. That's awesome. So after you're 4 years at Fiverr, and what made you think that, okay, time to change, next opportunity that comes up, but also I need to travel or go on this travel sabbatical. So yeah, how did this whole process, what was this time like in your life?
Yeah, it's a great question because it sounds pretty crazy to a lot of people. It was a lifelong dream of me and my husband of traveling the world and in a different way. And we had then our 2-year-old, and actually we were both in this place in our careers where we wanted to change. We're like, wait, this is exactly the same time, and she's exactly that age where she's fun to be with, but she doesn't have too many opinions, so we can like put her in a car and she'll be fine. She'll go with us wherever. And yeah, it was a very brave decision of selling everything we had. We're both also relocation children. So like I grew up here actually in the Bay Area when I was younger, and my husband was in Jamaica and Spain. So we knew how an amazing experience it would be for our family, for our careers. So yeah, we went for it. We got to California, we bought a camper, we renovated it for about 2 weeks to make it, fit our needs. And we set out, and we didn't know what's going to happen. We were just like rolling with it. And that was a really powerful experience to go and see what is America. Because we always say like America is this, but it's it's not. Every state is so different, and the people that you meet, and we met really different people that maybe we can talk about later that really shaped the decision to go to PayPal, actually. And we were lucky to finish our trip in February, where people started talking to me about this COVID. And I was like, why would I care about COVID? I do care about COVID. So we were really lucky.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, you went on to this, travel sabbatical, also not having a job, right? Like you left Fiverr and you were just kind of saying, this is our time to go travel, explore the world, explore America at least, and really, and learn a lot, which is it's so admirable, right? Like a lot of people, a lot of fear comes up when they think about that and like what can happen and, how long will it be? And I can go crazy, all these different things. What was a challenge during this time?
I think the challenge was saying what you want. Like when you're in such a small space, you need to tell your partner, like, maybe I need some time. Maybe I want to stay here. Maybe I want to do this. Like you need to really communicate what you're feeling because you're always together. There's no like breathing time, especially because we have a child with us all the time. So it was amazing for our relationship and our communications and that fear was, yes, we did have that fear in the back of our head, but on the other hand, we both, I think that the feeling that we believe in each other so much was that we'll find a job. Like it's not something that we're scared of and we'll travel and we'll see. We didn't have a deadline. We didn't have a set of where we need to be. We're just like jumping between national parks and seeing how beautiful this country is.
Yeah. It's so cool.
And when we got here,
I love it. So, okay, so now tell me, PayPal, how did that opportunity come up? What made you say yes? And like you said, you met a bunch of different people along your whole journey. And how did that contribute to it? And also, I actually want to add, did you ever consider starting your own company again? Did, a second time entrepreneur, did that come into it?
No, like right now I'm really happy with where I am. So I'm not feeling that I need that, but you never say never.
Yeah.
But right now I'm just like in a really great place. So
amazing. So yes, tell me about PayPal. How did that come up?
So PayPal was actually through a mutual friend that introduced me to the hiring manager. And again, it's asking for help. We came to the Bay Area. I kind of set out and asked everyone I knew here, like, do you know of any roles? To get some connections, because we didn't know a lot of people here. And one thing led to another, and I was introduced to the hiring manager. And PayPal was like the last thing on my mind because, for me it was like a fintech company, and I'm scared of banks. Like I don't go near them. So I'm like, that has nothing to do with me. But I started listening to a talk by Dan Schulman, which is the CEO of PayPal. And he talked about that, the PayPal mission. And his mission was that the company mission is to ensure that everyone, regardless to their background, has access to convenient and secure products that help them take control of their financial lives. Yeah. And I was blown away by that because in a world where 50% of Americans can't spare $500 at the end of the day, at the end of the month, if they would need that, or 7 out of 10 Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless. I was feeling that I know these people. Like I met them during our travels.
Wow. Because
I met these people that live in vans, and I met these people that live paycheck to paycheck. Rock climbers, that's what they do for their living, but they don't have insurance because they don't have money to do that. And you're like looking at them and you're like, you're climbing rocks. Like that doesn't make any sense, but they can't. And suddenly that mission came in, and I'm like, I know how they look like. I've talked to them, and I want to be part of a product that puts those users in the center and helps them. So I was so excited by that opportunity. And what topped it all off was I met during my interview process people that were so nice, so were genuinely wanting to get to know me and seeing if we're a good fit, both ways. So it was all just like, this is amazing, this is great. And I think that to top it all off was the fact that I was kind of scared because I don't have a background in finance, but then I was thinking about it, I'm like, actually, I'm the perfect product manager to work on a product like that because I am the customer. I am one of those people who don't love they don't love the banking experience, and you need to create a product that's really easy for them to understand and something that they feel secure and that they can use these products. So I was like, I am the perfect user advocate for this. So really
that's amazing. I think it's so interesting. First of all, it's just another aspect of your career that really shows that you were so driven, and you are so driven by the mission, right? And the why and the impact that it has. Because like you said, like you're, farthest from a fintech person and a fintech expert. And here you are, really empathizing with the users. And I think if you can talk a little bit more about this idea, because it almost seems counterintuitive, right? This idea where you didn't see yourself as a finance person, and yet you're working at a fintech company as a product manager, and yet you have to step into the eyes of the user, and yet you didn't really see yourself as a user. So how important is it to really like decouple with not have bias as a user that loves the product, but also be able to step into the feet of the user, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think that when actually in a company like PayPal, we really are trying to enable these products for everyone, and you don't need to be a finance person in order to understand them. And when I think about myself, I don't think that my next company will be in a fintech company or any other discipline. For me, it's about the user, and am I addressing a user problem, and do I see that user and how I can help them excel in their lives? So for me, it doesn't even matter, and kind of like Fiverr, it doesn't matter if I'm not using that product. It's really about, do I understand them? Do I see these users? Do I understand their needs? And can I create an experience for them? And sometimes actually, like you said, not being a user is a good thing as well, because you're not in love with that product. You can criticize some of the products or the processes that you see, because you're looking at it in a very in fresh eyes, but also thinking about that user. Yeah.
And tell me, you worked on the homepage again at PayPal. How is this process? And specifically talk about, because I know we talked about this earlier, how, working on the homepage, you have to really, it's a very horizontal feature in a way, because you have to really take all the aspects of a company and decide, okay, what are we putting on this little page to really catch the user? So how is that process like?
So that was a crazy ride, actually. I joined PayPal, and the brief that I got was, listen, we're rethinking the homepage because Fiverr, I built like the marketing page, but at PayPal, I built more of the consumer logged in experience. And there we were thinking, okay, we have all these new products coming in. The homepage was never built for so many products, and it's going to continue growing. Like now we're going to have more products around crypto and about credit and stuff like that. So you need to think about this homepage and how it's going to grow. And I was so excited. I was like, wait, okay, where do I even start? Because you're not only planning for something now, you're planning for something in the future. And you're, again, planning for something that you can't show users because they won't understand what you're talking about, because that's not how the product looks today. You're talking to them about like in 2 years, how is that going to look like? So, and again, it was kind of a deja vu, because it was another, we're not going to A/B test this. We're going to go out with this whole new structure to the users. So I'm like, okay, I know that process already, and like how maybe we can tackle that, and how we can use user research to our advantage. But really getting the inputs from all the teams was the biggest chunk of it, because like you said, there's a little screen, a lot of real estate above the fold, but you need to understand the user's needs and what do you need to fit above the fold, and how do you create that sense of security for them, especially with a for a financial product. But then, the company's strategy and what are the new products that we want to introduce to users. So going to all these partners that we had, asking about their KPIs, asking about their roadmaps. Where do you see yourself in 2 years? How do we kind of build something that'll scale for all these products? So it was just this crazy, really interesting process that was, on one hand, similar to things that I've done, but on the other hand, completely new and at a whole new scale. So,
yeah. And okay, how do you take into consideration, user voice and user input and insight when you are making a product that's 2 years down the line, right? Like you said, because it seems like in that aspect, it's really just focusing on the business strategy of PayPal, and they want to go into crypto and credit, whatever it may be. So how do you take into consideration the user voice?
So we did a lot of user research, and every product as well has their own user research, and we looked into that. So a user who would use crypto, like what's interesting to them, what would they want to see on the homepage, a user who is getting their paycheck every month into PayPal, a user who, all these different products. Not only did I ask about their KPIs and roadmap, but what is the user insight, and what would your user want, a user who's using that product, and then trying to see that whole story together. And of course, it goes without saying, like at a company like Fiverr, there's so many smart people. Our user research partners and design and development and everything was really restructured. Like even the development, like how do we build something to scale? So that's another amazing advantage of working at a company like this, like super smart people that was just wonderful to collaborate with.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Okay. Dana, first of all, it's been so fun. So really thank you. But I have to end off with the one question. What's your favorite product and why?
So when we were traveling, we got introduced to an app called iOverlander, which shows you where you can pretty much park for free when you're living off-grid. And what was amazing about this product, apart from the fact that it saved our lives many times, and we used it about 90% of the time when sleeping in these amazing places, but this whole platform, everyone talks about it. Every van person that you meet talks about this person and this product. It's volunteer-based, it's donation-based, and what was really amazing was that people created a why for this product without, like, if you see the site, if you see the product itself, it's so simple, but people were talking about it. Like everyone that saw us was like, do you know this company? It enables you to live your dream and be outside. And I was like, that is amazing that, it really answered such a critical user need for people that are living on the road, and they created this whole experience around it, this whole why, and so much so that they're like donating, they're uploading places that you can sleep, they're volunteering their time. Like it was such an amazing community that came about from really just nailing that user need. So for me, that was so inspiring, and we continue using it every time we go out. So it's a great product.
I love that. So for you, it's almost like the community aspect and that's the goal, right? For the users to be able to be the best advocates and, be the marketing team for it, essentially. That's awesome. I love that. Okay. Well, it's been so fun. I've learned so much. So really, thanks for coming on the show. It's been great. I appreciate it.
Thank you. This was great. And I hope to speak with you again soon.
Yes.